Finally, it's Friday, and in exactly a week, April is over too. But the news cycle is still churning, and we will help you navigate that in the next hour. So stay tuned. Good afternoon, everyone. Ako po, si Denise Tan.
Hello, Denise Tan. Lourdes de Vera naman po ang aking pangalan. Ibigay daw ang hilig ng naislakbay ng daigdig. Buti pa sila, ang daloy ng pera ay parang tubig na iniigib. Di tulad kong alipin sa gigilid. Ang ipon ay laging tagilid. Ang biyahe, dyan lang, pa San Andres Bukid, sakay ng kuliglig. Ito daw ang programang laging swabe lang ang life. Ito na po ang Afternoon Delight. St. Andrew Mountain?
Yes.
Your hood? Talaga?
Oh,
Meron ba doon?
San Andres Bukid?
Oo.
Sa Manila.
Kaya nga.
Malapit sa ano, oo.
Paano mo naging hood yun?
Ay, yung lola ko doon nakatira dati.
Oh, kahod mo pala sila Kim Atienza.
Ayun.
San Andres Mountain tawag nila. All right.
Okay, today is April 24.
It's Friday.
It is Friday.
Salamat Jesus at Biyernes.
Ayun. And what a month it has been for all of us. I think especially for the Dutertes who have been in the headlines recently.
Walang roll video. Ito na pala yun.
Ito.
First former President Rodrigo Duterte is definitely going to trial after the ICC confirmed his crimes against humanity charges, and he can now be officially called a suspect.
Then there's Digong's daughter, Vice President Sara Duterte, who the House Justice Committee wants to go on trial at the Senate for alleged high crimes as well. She could be impeached a second time at the lower chamber.
Kung naalala mo, partner, ito yung huling major na tinutukan natin sa The Hague, no? Lahat ng mga news outlets, including ours. Ito na yon, yung
The ruling.
yung Kaufman, prosecution, Kaufman, yung palit-palit niya.
Yes.
Ito na yon. Ito na hinihintay na yung desisyon ng mga proceedings na yon. Ito na ang bilis, ano?
Was it 60 days? 60 days yun, di ba? Yung since we got the ruling yesterday.
Kasi di ba tatlo yung posible ring outcomes, either totally re-reject or i-revise or mukhang ito, tuloy-tuloy na talaga. Sunod-sunod ng mga desisyon, back-to-back decisions ng maninigurado na talagang tuloy ang paglilitis ng dating Pangulo. Alright, and as we said, former President Duterte is going to trial at the ICC. But what charges is he exactly facing? We listen to this report.
The judges of Pretrial Chamber 1 of the International Criminal Court unanimously confirmed all the charges against Rodrigo Roa Duterte and committed him to trial before a trial chamber.
The International Criminal Court is moving forward with the trial of former President Rodrigo Duterte after its pre-trial chamber unanimously confirmed all charges against him. This means Duterte is now formally considered an accused in criminal proceedings before the court. In its decision, the ICC said there are substantial grounds to believe Duterte is criminally responsible for crimes against humanity, including murder and attempted murder as an indirect co-perpetrator or for ordering, inducing, or aiding the crimes.
The judges based their decision on the evidence and arguments presented by the prosecutor and the defense during the confirmation of charges.
The court also found that the alleged crimes were part of a widespread and systematic campaign of killings from November 2011 to March 2019, when the Philippines was still a member of the ICC. This period covers Duterte's time as a mayor of Davao City and as president during the height of his war on drugs. Overall, Duterte faces 3 counts of crimes against humanity involving at least 49 incidents and 78 victims. The first count covers killings in Davao City linked to the Davao Death Squad during his mayoral term. The second involves murders of so-called high-value targets during his presidency, including the case of former Albuera Mayor Rolando Espinosa. The ICC trial chamber will now handle the case with 3 judges set to preside. Under the Rome Statute, Duterte is required to appear in court either in person or through other modalities as approved. The ICC prosecutor said the confirmation of charges is a major step toward accountability for victims of alleged extrajudicial killings. But Duterte's lead defense counsel, Nicholas Kaufman, argued that key witnesses lack credibility and insisted the alleged state policy behind the killing is a complete fiction. Meanwhile, around 539 victims have been authorized to participate in the proceedings presented by a common legal team.
Meantime, former President Duterte's family is disappointed by the most recent ICC ruling, while lawyers for drug war victims hail it as a step toward justice. Digong's daughter Kitty said the ex-president has been told about the ICC decision and has accepted it. For her part, Paulina Masida of the Office of the Public Counsel for Victims said the ruling recognizes an alleged organized campaign and an affirmation that no official is above the law. Lawyers are also reacting to the development. International law expert Romel Bagares said Duterte is compelled to attend his looming trial, while ICC-accredited lawyer Cristina Conti predicts start of trial before the year ends or early 2027.
He knows about the decision already, and I do not initiate conversations with him about it because it might ruin his mood. But he knows, and so far he is accepting of it, no? Like he always says, wala tayong magawa eh. Leave it up to God. My siblings and I. So we kind of expected the results already with the appeal on jurisdiction. Disappointed but not surprised. Like I said, we are hoping for the best, but we are always prepared for the worst. You know our family.
The decision also sends a clear message that human rights violations are to be considered and that no position of authority can shield an individual from justice, from judicial scrutiny. It's an important step forward for victims who have waited a long time for an independent body to acknowledge the seriousness of what happened to their families and their loved ones who lost their lives.
There have been very rare circumstances in which the court allowed someone not to appear in a trial, but that's a very rare situation. And I don't really expect that to happen in the case of the former president.
Ang tansya ko nga, it could, usually ang mga trial kasi nangyayari after confirmation of charges hearing, yung February, between 8 months to 1 year.
Oh, matagal.
So mahabang period. Ang pinakal at the latest, February 2027, magsisimula ang hearing. Pero ako, dama ko parang may mangyayari ng December. Ready na ba kayong white Christmas?
I'm the master of my fate, I'm the captain of my soul. Invictus. Binasa ni Kitty Duterte. The unvanquished. Meanwhile, another Duterte is facing her own legal battle in this part of the planet. The House Justice Committee is certain that Sara Duterte, the Vice President, will be impeached a second time and shall be convicted when her case reaches the Senate. But the VP's lawyers are confident of an acquittal. This report from Mobile Journal, Amy Atienza.
After the House Justice Committee hearings unveiled several red flag bank transactions from Vice President Sara Duterte and husband attorney Mans Carpio, as reported by the Anti-Money Laundering Council, Sabalia et al. Complaint lead counsel Amando Ligutan insisted that the evidence presented are already enough to keep the hearings going.
More than enough na po yung pinakitang evidence. Remember, yung threshold is only probable cause. Alam mo, the past 2 hearings, sa tingin ko as a litigator, enough na nga to convict and to remove the Vice President.
Further, Ligutan also saw confidence that the two remaining impeachment complaints will pass on the Congress level. That is also because of the pieces of information disclosed from the resource persons invited during the hearings. From Ramil Madriaga admitting disposal of the 125 million pesos confidential funds within a day to the non-disclosure of cash and bank deposits of the VP from 2019 to 2025. Ligutan added that these are all crucial as the committee continues to determine the probable causes regarding Duterte's impeachment.
In just 2 hearings, nabago yung perception ng publiko. From yung sa tingin na invincible, yung mga Duterte, after the 2 hearings, napakita sa publiko na vulnerable. Vulnerable yung mga Duterte, like the Vice President. Vulnerable sa ebidensya, vulnerable sa katotohanan.
On the other hand, the defense team of VP Sara already made their statement. It must be remembered that during the Wednesday's hearing, Duterte and Carpio had 630 covered transactions and 33 suspicious transactions combined. This totaled to 6.7 billion pesos of flagged transactions as reported by banks to AMLAC. But VP Counsel Attorney Michael Poa has this to say.
Suspicious transactions does not equate to any wrongdoing or unlawful activity. Perhaps the bank thought or tagged it as suspicious, so umakyat sa AMLAC, nagkaroon ng suspicious transaction report. Ngayon, hindi naman ibig sabihin nun, illegal na kaagad, or may money laundering na kaagad, or may krimen na kaagad. In fact, magti-trigger lang yon para sa AMLAC na tingnan at kung gusto nilang imbestigahan, at yun po ang nangyari.
Poa also affirmed that none of the representatives from the side of the Vice President will attend any of the Justice Committee hearings. The House Justice Committee is expected to have its next hearing regarding the Vice President's impeachment on April 29. Kapatid Amy Atienza, we are One News.
Alright, napakarami pa nating balita. Pero kailangan muna nating mag-time out at may mga ayusin lang po tayo mga kapatid. Marami pa kaming kwento sa inyo tulad po itong susunod na mapanood ang global headlines from the Associated Press at magbabalik po ang Afternoon Delight.
This is AP News Minute. President Donald Trump has ordered the U.S. military to shoot and kill small Iranian boats that deploy mines in the Strait of Hormuz. The order came shortly after the U.S. military seized another tanker associated with the smuggling of Iranian oil. Pope Leo is urging the U.S. and Iran to return to talks to end the war, and he's calling for a new culture of peace. The Pope revealed that he carries with him the photo of a Muslim Lebanese boy who was killed in Israel's recent war with Hezbollah. The Department of Justice's internal watchdog says it is reviewing the department's compliance with the law mandating the release of the Jeffrey Epstein files. The review follows complaints from some Epstein survivors that their personal information had been disclosed. The overwhelming majority of Warner Brothers Discovery shareholders have voted in support of selling the entire business to Paramount. The $81 billion mega merger could vastly reshape Hollywood and the wider media landscape.
Alright, this is still Afternoon Delight on One News. Ako po si Lourdes Vera.
At ako naman po si Denise Tan. Magandang hapon pong muli.
The headline at this hour, the Justice Department says former lawmaker Zaldico is still under custody of Czech authorities. It clarified, however, that technically he was not arrested.
In a statement, DOJ spokesperson Attorney Polo Martinez said that while Ko was not formally arrested, his liberty was restricted. His exact location and status, however, remain unclear. Martinez added more details are expected once formal dialogue with Czech authorities begins.
Ko was previously stopped at the German border and was returned to Prague over a supposed immigration violation. President Marcos himself announced the so-called capture and promised to bring home the fugitive as soon as possible. Ko is being accused of involvement in the flood control scandal and questionable insertions in the 2025 national budget. In other news, it's the final day of bail hearings for former Senator Bong Revilla and his co-accused at the Sandigan Bayan 3rd Division. Meanwhile, the lawyers of former Speaker Martin Romualdez want the Office of the Ombudsman to inhibit from the flood control probe. Lots to unload from our Mojo Arles de los Santos. Arles, alas 2 daw maghaharap etong si former Senator Bong Revilla at yung maraming ITs kahapon, marami sakit.
Kaya nakamask si Arles eh.
Ay, ganun ba? Akala ko, nasa nabotas na naman si Arles de los Santos. Go, Arles.
Lord at Denise, ngayong araw nga ay actually at this very moment ay nakasalang pa si dating DPWH Undersecretary Roberto Bernardo dito sa 3rd Division ng Sandigan Bayan. Pag-aalauna kanina ng tanghali dumating si Bernardo, bit-bit ng isang brown envelope at suot-suot din ang face mask at yun nga agad-agad na umakyat dito sa 3rd Division ng Sandigan Bayan at actually pati yung iba nating mga kasama na media, mga prosekusyon at yung depensa ay nakasuot din ng face mask. Pag-upo ni Bernardo ay kinumpirma niya nakararanas pa rin siya ng severe coughing pero mas malakas daw ito yung atake nito tuwing gabi at tuwing umaga. So ngayong tanghali ay mas komportable daw yung kanyang nararamdaman pero nandun pa rin yung kanyang sakit. Lord, kasama sa mga itinatanong dito kay Bernardo ay kung ilang beses nga ba siya nag-deliver ng pera umano kay dating Senador Bong Revilla. Ayon kay Bernardo, 3 beses na nag-deliver siya ng pera. Sa unang 2 beses, ay nasa 125 billion pesos yung kanyang i-deliver and then kasama siya mismo doon. Yung pangalawa naman ay nag-deliver ng 255 million, yung driver niya lang mismo yung nag-deliver noon. And then sa pangatlong pagkakataon ay 125 million pesos naman yung kanyang i-deliver at nakita niya mismo umano yung mga boxes na ipinang-deliver dito. Nang tinanong Lord kung bakit ganito yung dami ng mga delivery, lumalabas dito na yung unang delivery pala na nangyari noong 2024 daw, ayun ay parang yun yung mga galing sa projects na proponent umano si dating Senador Bong Revilla for the 2024 GAA. And then for the 2025 GAA, may delivery ulit. Yun naman, yung para sa 2025 naman na delivery for the GAA naman. Yung ilan sa mga kinokontest dito ay para doon sa mga advance payments umano ng mga contractors na flood control projects ng pamahalaan. Pero Lord, medyo umiinit yung tensyon doon sa loob dahil ang isa sa mga hukom ng Sandigan Bayan 3rd Division ay hinahamon or itinetest yung kredibilidad nito ni Bernardo dahil dala-dala mismo Lord ni Bernardo yung Toyota 4Runner na ginamit umano pang deliver dito kay Revilla at meron siyang dala na 15 karton na halimbawa ng pinaggamitan mismo ng perang i-deliver kay Revilla. Ang malaking tanong dito Lord ay kung paano nga raw mapatutunayan na yun mismo yung mga boxes kung hindi mismo si Bernardo yung bumili ng mga ito. Pero ayon kasi kay Bernardo, meron siyang mga parang empleyado or inuutusan na may hawak ng pera at yun yung bumibili sa naturang office warehouse pero hindi pa natutukoy kung saan nga ito binili. So isa lamang yan Lord sa mga ini-establish ng Sandigan Bayan 3rd Division yung patungkol sa kanyang kredibilidad. Pero nakita mismo ni Bernardo daw yung mga boxes na ginamit. At ang sa depensa naman Lord, ang kanilang claim ay wala raw kasing larawan na direktang magpapakita ng mga karton na sinasabing pinaglagyan nga ng pera para i-deliver yung mga pera kay dating Senador Bong Revilla.
Hindi nilagyan si Boss Henry. May souvenir pa. May souvenir pa sa may bilyaran. Pero Arles, okay, ang tita Denise mo rin, baka makatulong din yung paliwanag mo, Kasi, okay, bail hearing lamang ito, So, wala pa tayo doon sa totoong sa meat talaga ng trial. Pero, bakit ang tunog ay parang ang nililitis rin dito at ang sinusubukan na patunayan ay yung guilt or yung innocence kung ginawa nga ba o hindi. Parang ganun na kasi yung tono, di ba? Pero para sa bail hearing lang ito, everyone has the right to post bail, Pero ito ay para sa baka pagpiyansa lamang. Pero bakit ganun? Bakit parang ito na mismo yun?
Kasi Lord, itong bail hearing na ito, dito titimpangin ng mga hukom ng Sandigan Bayan 3rd Division kung mabigat nga ba yung mga ebidensya at testimonya para direkta na iugnay si dating Senador Bong Revilla sa umano'y kickback scheme ng mga flood control projects ng pamahalaan. Isa sa mga concern, Lord, yung kawalan nga raw ng mga larawan na magpapatunay mismo ng delivery na iyon. Abangan natin kung meron pa nga bang ibang ebidensya na ipakikita itong si dating Undersecretary Roberto Bernardo, kagaya na lamang ng mga conversation ng kanilang telepono or sa messaging application. So, hihintayin natin kung meron ba silang maipepresenta dyan. Pero mahalaga, Lord, na ang guluhan kung paano nga ba tumatakbo yung trial, dahil at least ayon kay Associate Justice Moreno, kailangan ma-establish yung credibility muna ni Bernardo. At syempre, kung nag-deliver ng mga boxes, ang tanong, saan galing yung boxes? Sino yung bumili ng mga boxes? Gaano karaming boxes yung ginamit para pang-deliver? At kasya ba ito doon sa tinutukoy na sasakyan na pinaglagyan nito? No? So, nandoon pa lamang sa bahaging yun, Lord, no? At least paglabas natin, yung pagtatanong ng prosekusyon. Hindi pa tayo dumatako doon sa mas malalim at mas direkta na mga impormasyon dito. Pero kinumpirma ni Bernardo, Lord, no, na yung unang delivery at pangatlong delivery, kasama siya mismo sa nag-deliver sa umano'y White House ng mga Revilla sa Cavite.
Testimonial evidence, kumbaga. Talagang yung
Yes,
fix or it didn't happen na talagang nakasabihan.
Dapat kasi may resibo.
Oh, so sa lahat na gagawa ng krimen, dapat
May resibo.
dapat may picture kayo para ang labo, di ba?
Bala yun eh.
O bala, laban sa'yo. Ba't mo naman gagawin kasi yun, di ba? Oo, panghihirap lang. Pero mauulit din yung mga tanungan na ganyan pagdating sa actual trial. Tama ba, Arles?
Tama ka dyan, Lord, no? Pero mayroon kasing ilan na, kunwari, yung may mga kapwa-akusado sa Revilla, kapag naitanong na sa cross-examination yung mga questions ng depensa, halimbawa, hindi na nila ito pwedeng ulitin at i-adapt na lang nila yun, no? Parang i-stipulate na lang din nila para hindi na nga maulit-ulit yung mga tanong. At hindi rin pwede na magtatanong sila ng hindi nakabase doon sa judicial affidavit. Kailangan inline lamang doon at clarificatory para nang sa ganun, mas malinaw kung saan nga
Parang
nagagalit.
ganyan
Dahil
yung
hindi pa nga raw ito yung main trial mismo.
Ilang araw na ganyan. Ganyan yung sa Congress. So kailangan yun ng committee head kung ito ba ay naaayon doon sa guidelines lang muna ng ating at hindi na yung hindi pa yung meat. So ang magdedesisyon nun ay si Congressman Luistro. So, noon sa Congress. Pero dito ibang usapan ito. Pero wala bang timbang yung kumbaga state witness itong si Roberto Bernardo?
Lord, sorry, medyo naputo lang.
Hindi ko alam kung may talino ba yung tanong ko na yun. Baguhin na lang siguro natin.
Punta ng
Sige, go.
No, I wanted to ask Arles doon naman sa usapin for former Speaker Martin Romualdez. Kasi ang nakalagay dito ay there are reports that he wants the Office of the Ombudsman to inhibit from the flood control probe. Ano mismo yung
Pwede ba yun?
Anong legal grounds ang pwede niyang i-cite dito for the inhibition?
Denise, at least dito naman sa kinakaharap na precautionary hold departure order ni dating House Speaker Romualdez, ang iginigiit ng kanyang kampo ay tila na prejudge na daw ng Office of the Ombudsman yung kanyang innocence or yung pagkakasangkot dito sa malawakang skandalo pagdating sa korupsyon ng pamahalaan. At sinasabi nga dito as early as 2025 when Remulla disclosed that his office had been studying the case for weeks, was already discussing possible plunder charges. So parang yung kanilang depensa hindi pa nasisimulan or natatapos sa investigation ay may presumption niya ng guilt ng dating House Speaker na si Martin Romualdez. At kabukod pa dyan, wala raw kasing mga kaso pa na nakasampa laban kay dating House Speaker Martin Romualdez. So technically, nais nila na umalis talaga ito sa investigasyon. Pero as for the PHDO is concerned, nung final ito ng Office of the Ombudsman, tama naman, wala pang kaso na inihaharap o inihahain laban kay Romualdez. Pero meron kasing preliminary investigation, yung kanilang special ombudsman prosecutor. So they just want to at least maiwasan or mapigilan na umalis ito ng bansa dahil yung kanilang pangamba nga baka mag-Alazalde Code 2.0 na nagpaalam for medical reason at hindi na rin bumalik agad.
At pag nahuli, hindi raw yun arrest. Diba? Pustahan tayo pag nakawala yun. Hindi naman yung escape kasi hindi naman talaga siya nahuli. Semantics, Pero, Arles, ang gusto mangyari, ipapa-inhibit pa yung ombudsman kasi ginagawa niya yung trabaho niya. Ganun, parang...
May reaction ba yung ombudsman pala? Matanong ko lang din.
Hinihintay pa natin, Denise, yung reaksyon ng Office of the Ombudsman patungkol dito.
As early as 20, minaman-manan na raw. Inaabangan yung mga galaw. Ibig sabihin para pinipersonal siya. So next time, kunyari, ako nahulihan ako ng something. Ay, yung polis na yan, matagal na ako sinusundan yan. Inhibit yan mula sa pag-aresto sa akin.
Ayun.
Sino huhuli sa akin ngayon?
Wala na, may kwento na
Boy Scout.
Ayan, pwede. Tignan natin.
Tanod. Pwede rin.
Pwede rin.
Alright. Arles, hanggang ano oras ito? Kasi 2 p.m. nag-start ang paghaharap nila, di ba?
Yes, Lord. Usually tumatagal ito ng mga hanggang alas 3, mag-aalas 4 ng hapon, and then didiretso sa far exit yung sinumang witness na humaharap dito mula sa panig ng prosekusyon.
Alright. Maraming salamat sa iyong update. At least sa ICI, hindi kailangan mag-face mask ni Arles de los Santos. Thank you, Arles.
And here are the other stories we're watching. The Energy Department says another fuel price rollback is expected next week, though smaller than previous adjustments. Diesel may drop by up to nearly 2 pesos per liter, gasoline by 1 peso and 30 centavos, and kerosene by 1 peso and 70 centavos. That's based on the DOE's 4-day oil monitoring. About 500 public school teachers marched from the Department of Budget and Management Office in Manila to Mendiola on Thursday. That's to call for a 15,000 peso across-the-board salary increase. The Teachers Dignity Coalition said the proposed pay hike is urgent and financially feasible if government priorities are realigned. The group also appealed to the Marcos administration and lawmakers to act on pending bills seeking long-delayed salary adjustments for public school teachers. And former presidential spokesperson Harry Roque has filed a petition before the Court of Appeals seeking a temporary restraining order. That's to halt the cancellation of his passport and the government's declaration labeling him as a fugitive from justice. Roque said these interventions were imposed without legal basis and in violation of his fundamental rights. He also insisted that he cannot be considered a fugitive because he left the Philippines before any criminal complaint or case was filed against him.
On to another story. Basura, minsan dinadala sa bahay ng kongresista kung sinusundan ng balita. Pero minsan talagang masakit sa mata. If we're up to the MMDA, littering will hopefully become a thing of the past starting next week. Thanks to technology. Para bigyan ng mukhang balita, Mobile Journal, Ivan Tarinque.
Hindi na lang mga pasaway na driver ang target ng no-contact apprehension policy. Ngayon, pati mga nagkakalat sa kalsada. 8 taon ng Metro 8 ang 57 years old na si Nanay Rosalie. Araw-araw siya nagwawali sa kabaan ng EDSA at kadalasan, mga plastic bottles at sachet ng candy ang kanyang napupulot. Para sa kanya, malaking tulong ang paggamit ng mga kamera para mapanagot na talaga ang mga nagkakalat.
Mas maganda na yung ganun kaysa pabayaan na lang, sir, magtako kahit saan. Hindi naman po maganda yun, sir.
Ayon sa MMDA, layo ng hakbang na ito na gumamit ng teknolohiya para mas mabilis matukoy ang mga lumalabag sa batas.
Nagtapon ka ng basura, nakuhanan ka ng camera, ika-capture yan, gagawing notice of violation, ipapadala sa inyo, bayaran mo ang multa. Pag hindi mo bayaran ang multa, lalabas ang warrant mo.
Sa susunod na linggo, inaasahang sisimula na ang paggamit sa daang-daang NCAP camera para tutukan ng illegal littering. Inaayos na lang ang guidelines at koordinasyon sa mga LGU na tutulong sa pagpapaabot ng mga notice of violation. Ang mga mahuhuli, posibleng pagmultahin ng 500 hanggang 2,000 pesos na kailangang bayaran.
Sa ngayon, andyan naman ang camera, bakit hindi natin gamitin? Ganon din. So, ang manghuhuli ko niyan, yung tao sa likod ng camera, yung NCAP personnel namin, meron kang...
Paalala ng mga otoridad, itapon ng basura sa tamang lagayan. Dahil pagdating ng tag-ulan, gaano man kaliit ang kalat, posible ang magbara sa mga daluyan ng tubig at magdulot ang pagbaha. Mga kapatid, Mobile Journal Ivan Tarinque po, hatid ang mukha ng balita.
Third time ko nakapunta sa Singapore. No? Parang may game kami, galing sa airport, bibilangin mo kung may mga yung mga ganyan, yung mga
kalat,
pieces of litter na makikita mo. So, bibilang, wala.
Oo.
Ang pinakakalat na makikita mo, let's say, lalo na yung airport road, galing sa yung galing sa airport na daan, dire-diretso lang yun, di ba? Puro ano lang talaga, yung mga nahuhulog na dahon. Otherwise, yung mga plastic na mga candy, sticks ng ice, wala talaga eh.
Hindi, tingin ko usapin dapat to ng disiplina talaga eh. Kasi katulad sa Japan hindi uso yung mga trash cans, ano? Pag naglalakad-lakad ka, usually wala ka makikita mga bins talaga.
May security reason naman kasi yun.
Hindi, pero ibig ko sabihin, doon kasi sanay sila na hindi sila basta-basta they hold on to their trash because they know that there's a proper way to dispose of your trash, di ba?
At hindi lang yun. Hindi lang simpleng disposal yun. Dapat
Segregation pa.
sinesegregate mo yan.
Oo.
Eh dito, nandidiri ba tayo sa konting basura? Ew, tatapon ko na to. Ganyan.
Hindi, dapat you hold on you hold on to that piece of trash. Kahit na, kunyari, hindi may mga cans or bote ng mga soft drinks or plastic ng
Huwag yung paliparin.
Oo. Tapos magtataka kayo pag nagbaha kung bakit napakaraming basura, di ba?
Naalala ko may commercial doon. Basurang tinapon mo, babalik rin sa'yo.
Oo. Totoo din
Alam mo
naman.
Tapon sila ng tapon, tapos bumagyo, binaha, bumalik yung mga kita yung mga tinapon nila mga liter.
Tapos sabihin mo, nako, kasi ang gobyerno, ganito, ganyan. I mean, we all have our, we all play our parts in everything.
Pero may pera sa basura.
Iba yun. Ibang basura yun.
Kontratista ka na illegal, na sobra-sobra.
Ayun.
All right.
Okay, sige. We'll also give you a quick look at stories from our media partners. On the Philippine Star, half of Filipino adults believe that their quality of life has deteriorated over the past 12 months, according to a new social weather station survey. The survey found declines in all regions, with Mindanao suffering the steepest drop. It was conducted as inflation, transport costs, and rice prices squeeze household budgets the hardest. On Business World, the national government's budget deficit in March widened by 2% to 349.7 billion pesos as spending outpaced revenue gains. Expenditures climbed 5.2% to 654.8 billion pesos, driven by higher transfers to local government units, support to government-owned corporations, and a one-off release to address fuel supply issues. For more details of these stories, you can visit the social media pages of the Philippine Star and the Business World. Do check out as well the social media platforms of One News PH for the very latest news.
And we now move down south and get updates from our man in Cebu, Dale Israel. Dale, tuloy daw yung ASEAN. Nako, at kamusta ba ang air quality dyan ngayon sa Cebu? Ito ba'y nag-improve na so far, Dale?
Mayang hapon, Lord and Denise. Final preparations nga are on the way for the upcoming ASEAN Summit. Set on May 7 and 8 is with ASEAN leaders and delegates expected to stay only in Lapu-Lapu City. According to local officials, major hotels, venues in Mactan will serve as key sites for the high-level meetings, including areas near Shangri-La, J Park, Lusitani, Mactan, and the Mactan Expo Center as the main summit venue. As part of the preparations, neighboring cities such as Mandaue City and here in Cebu City have also initiated cleanup drives, street repainting, and general beautification efforts despite not being direct host venues for the summit. Authorities say this is to ensure that the entire Metro Cebu presents a positive image to international delegates. Meanwhile, the Lapu-Lapu City government is also advising the public to expect temporary road closures and traffic adjustments in key areas. This includes Airport Road, Barangays Mactan and Maricondon, as well as streets leading to the major summit venues. Motorists and commuters are urged to plan their trips ahead of time and follow the traffic advisories to avoid inconvenience. Cebu Governor Pamela Baricuato is also calling on residents to cooperate with authorities and take part in these cleanup efforts. The governor emphasized that the success of the ASEAN will not only depend on security and logistics, but also the collective effort of the public to keep the environment clean and orderly. As the region gears up to host this major international event, officials are hopeful that Cebu will leave a strong and positive impression on the visiting leaders and delegates. Dumako naman tayo sa nangyayaring Cebu Marine Expo 2026. Nagbabala kasi ang Maritime Industry Authority ng mga posibleng pagbabago ng mga biyahe dahil sa patuloy na pagtaas ng presyo ng langis. Ayon kay Sonia Malaluan, Administrator ng Marina, umabot lang sa 11 shipping companies ang nagbawas ng biyahe o nag-consolidate ng kanilang mga trips upang makatipid sa gastos sa crudo. Among those affected are routes in Caticlan, Romblon, Cebu, Leyte, at Bohol, who now have limited trips going to and from those islands. May mga plano rin ang Marina na ipatupad ang service contracting sa ilang barko, sa ilang ruta, lalo na sa mga maiikling biyahe na karaniwang ginagamit sa mga papasok sa trabaho at paralan. Kabilang dito ang ferry boats sa Olango Island at sa Guimaras Island. Gayunman, hindi pa inilahad ng ang eksaktong halaga ng pondo para dito. Ngunit sinabi ni Malaluan na ito ay inaasahang magiging minimal lamang ang bayad sa mga service contractors. Meanwhile, Marina is also monitoring shipping companies that have raised their fare, and they said that these were all done with their regulations and is justified. So far, nakikita natin na nagtaas ng pasahe mostly are the fast ferries going to Ormoc City in Leyte and Bohol. That's Tagbilaran in Bohol. In the Marine Expo na natiling mahalagang sentro din ng kalakalan ng Cebu sa bansa pagdating sa maritime industry. Ito ang nagsisibing pangunahing hub para sa inter-island connectivity at inasahang mas malakas pa ito sa pagbubukas ng bagong Cebu International Container Port sa 2028. Layunin din na proyektong ito na palakihin ang kapasidad sa pag-handle ng kargamento. Pinapalakas din ang industriya ng shipbuilding sa Balamban na nakikitang magpapatibay sa posisyon ng Cebu bilang leader sa maritime sector sa Pilipinas. Bilang suporta sa agriculture, pinatupad din ang libreng roro at wharfage fees para sa mga barkong nagdadala ng agricultural products sa loob ng 2 buwan. That's May until June ayon sa Cebu Port Authority. Pinuspindi din ng Cebu Port Authority ang paniningil ng terminal fee sa lahat ng pasahero mula April 18 hanggang June 17. This means na hindi na kailangan magbayad ng 25 pesos terminal fee para sa dadaan sa Cebu Port Authority. Balik sa inyo, Lord, and Dinig.
Alright. Maraming salamat. Mag-ingat ka dyan and happy weekend. Daghang salamat. Our One News Cebu Desk, Dale Israel.
Again, this is still Afternoon Delight on One News. You just need to pause for another break. We'll be right back.
And you are still watching the show called Afternoon Delight. We thank you for staying with us.
And our delight of the week na may theme na cheese, we have cheesecake, blueberry cheesecake.
I never want this theme to end.
Pwede naman hanggang next week, cheese pa rin tayo.
Cheese is
Ang dami pa!
Diba? God is, cheese is God's miracle food.
Ayan. Tignan natin
You can put anything on cheese and it will definitely taste good.
I agree.
Diba? Katawan ni Elvis Presley, hiwaan mo ng konting laman, siguro yung balikat o yung braso, lagyan mo lang ng keso, masarap.
Masarap talaga. Kahit, di ba, kahit prutas, di ba, match with, with like apples and cheese, pwede rin.
Pwede rin, pero baka yung mga New Yorkers, mas gusto yung puro.
Ayan.
The New York
Spread
cheesecake.
natin yung
Ayan. Pero bakit nga ba naging yung term na cheesecake ginagamit to refer to a beefcake pala yung sinasabi ko. Pero meron ng cheesecake post, di ba? Yung parang, ibig sabihin ba nun, baduy and sexy?
Ay, yun ang hindi ko alam. Cheesecake.
Campy, gano'n.
Ano, cheesy? Ano ba? Ano ibig sabihin nun?
Sige. Ayan.
Ang saya.
Gusto mo kanin?
Tsaka toyo.
You heard the girl. Okay. Here are some stories on social media.
Kaya nag-enjoy na ako.
On the Philippine Star via live. In the U.S., U.S. eases access to marijuana for medical use. Okay, siguro magtataka kayo sa balita, sa issue na. Issue pa ba to? Yung recreational use nga ng marijuana ay legal na sa 24 states.
Dami,
including Washington. Tapos, recreational lang yun. Yung, kumbaga, sa 40 states naman, medical, legal.
Yes.
Okay, anong kaibahan ng dalawa? Yung una kong binanggit, yun yung nakakasabog. Sabog ka doon. Pero yung medical marijuana, wala siyang, tanggal yung yung psychoactive content. Yung nakaka-high, wala yun.
Ano lang, nakaka-relax, gano'n?
Parang gano'n. Kasi, sa mga ginagamit siya bilang painkiller.
Actually, kasi I was gonna say na I've seen some posts in the past, na kung saan merong mga athletes na gumagamit sila nung may cannabis extract, yung mga oil, for recovery. Kasi legal sa Amerika. Ginagamit daw talaga.
Pero ang irony dito, so sa states to pero sa federal law puts marijuana sa Category 1.
Yes.
Na ibig sabihin ay...
Schedule 1 ang
Schedule 1. Kung naman paliwanag, sabihin lang, dami kong alam
Hindi,
sa topic.
sige, go.
Ikaw, kain mo ng cheesecake.
Ito na nga. So, nasa Schedule 1 siya, a category ng drugs, Pero nandun din yung heroin, nandun yung methamphetamine, with no accepted medical use. Pero ang taas kasi ng potential naman nun for abuse talaga.
Pero para ilagay mo yung marijuana sa same level ng heroin. Yung heroin, yun yung napapanood din sa TV.
Oo.
Yung isang turukan mo lang talagang sira buhay mo. Ganun ang portrayal, ano? Ini-inject in everything. Pero, yun, mali yun eh. Ika nga ng kasabihan, don't panic, it's organic.
Okay.
Opinion po yun ng mga nabasa ko lang.
Mga nasa nandun po sa kabilang side ng mundo.
Bilang hindi po ako doktor.
Okay, on the Philippine Star Exclusives, PWD groom, tagumpay na naisayaw ang kanyang bride sa tulong ng mga mahal niya sa buhay. Have you seen this story?
Kwento mo sa akin.
Okay, so yung pangalan ng couple is si Andy and si Michelle. So si Andy kasi, if I'm not mistaken, he was a victim of a drive-by shooting. He was on his way to see his friends, may pupuntahan sila, nagkaroon ng drive-by shooting somewhere. Isa siya sa mga tinamaan ng bala. He was even in the ICU. I saw past reports of this years ago. Tapos, yun na nga, he is now in need of mga wheelchair. He's paralyzed from the waist down. Pero nung kasal nila, because there is a tradition of the first dance, I believe it was one of his groomsmen, tapos isa ata sa mga kapatid niya, ay tinali yung magkabilang paa ni Andy sa pangabinti nila, tapos binuhat siya from the back para makatayo, para maisayaw niya yung kanyang, kanyang bride na si Michelle.
Galing.
Nakaka-touch siya actually.
Samantalang, milyong-milyong tao may mga normal na gamit ng kanilang mga limbs. Pero tinitake for granted, ano?
Oo.
Mahalaga itong mga bagay na to. At yung mga bagay na yun ay para sa mga ganitong moments talaga. Pero mas makapangyarihan nga ipinakita na na-overcome nila yung odds.
Yes.
At talagang yung family talaga. Mahalaga talaga yung ano.
Such a sweet and inspiring story by Andy and Michelle. Okay, now we move on to our next story. Still on the Philippine Star Via Life, Disney reanimates songs in sign language form.
Ano kaya yan?
I think they shot, teka lang, nasan ba ulit yung story? They shot a new video of everything. Kung saan nakikita mo na, like sila, Moana, for example, Encanto, Moana 2, Frozen 2, may animation na sila na while they're singing, merong sign language. Yeah, merong nagsa-sign language. Which is, always a welcome addition to any animation para talagang inclusive, di ba? Okay. Sige, on to another story. In a world of fast-moving trends and filtered feeds, a Gen Z creator is going viral for serving pure 90s nostalgia. Mobile journalist Daniel Dayaw has a story.
Suwabe lang ang pose, pero lakas maka-iconic. Kaya naman trending ang isa nating kapatid sa pagbuhay ng mga 90s classic posing.
Nostalgic feels. That's definitely the vibe of Charmaine, a Gen Z content creator, bringing back the classic 90s look through her reels. What started as a fun creative outlet has now turned into a viral sensation.
Fantasy ko lang talaga yung paggayo ko kay Jolina, sa mga artista nung 90s. Parang di ba yung emote-emote ka lang, tapos mapapansin ka na ng mga tao, parang hindi ko rin in-expect talaga. Tapos sasabihin nila mukha daw talaga ako luma. Kaya mas effective daw yung...
Inspired by her parents' old photo albums and pages of 90s magazines, Charmaine recreates the look with intention.
Dito ko parang na-feel yung comfort na dito ako mas nag-grow creatively. Kakagawa ko ng mga 90s. Pag nag-shoot, siguro talaga ang nagdadala shades, accessories, yung outfit din talaga mismo overall. Hanggat maaari, tinatry ko maging accurate, research, nire-recreate ko yung mga nakikita ko sa mga films, magazines.
And with every post striking a familiar note, she shares that titas and titos can't help but react.
Ang dami nag-MMK na mga titos and titas of Manila na parang may naaalala silang certain memory. Tapos, siguro, hindi ko may mapigilang ma-touch pag sinasabi nilang naaalala nila yung parang yumao na nilang relatives or parents.
Even Gen Z viewers are tuning in, finding something new and something old.
Naalala ko po yung my grandparents, may mga photos po sila sa bahay, and then nakikita ko po yung mga outfits nila, which is same lang po sa mga nakikita ko sa bahay.
It also give us nostalgia po. 2000 babies, hindi po natin naranasan yung mga ganun, especially dahil nga dahil sa technology natin for today's.
With millions of views online, Charmaine now hopes to do one simple thing, to make people feel at home.
Siguro in a way din kasi they felt like home sa mundo ng punong-puno ng AI, tapos sa mundong puno din ng mga minimalist. Siguro yun pa rin yung hinahanap ng mga tao, yung comfort na naibigay before.
Because in a fast-moving world, sometimes all it takes is a simple music and frame to pause and remember the good old times. Kapatid Mobile journalist Daniel Dayaw, we are One News.
General rule of thumb sa kultura, ang nauuso sa isang dekada ay palaging reaksyon to the previous trend, the previous decade. So, itong lalapad ng pantalon ngayon, di ba?
Oo.
Reaction to doon sa skinny na nauso several years ago.
Yes.
So, laging magre-react lang yan sa art, sa kultura, etc., etc. Kung sobrang ingay, alam ba, ng musika ng isang present generation, yung susunod, mas minimal, mas kabaligtaran.
Alam mo, sorry bigla ko lang naalala. Tama ka kasi, I remember when I was in high school, parang sobrang uso ng sobrang laking pants talaga. As in, yung nagpapatahi pa yung ibang mga batchmates ko. Tapos when I was in college, yung sobrang nipis naman. Sobrang skinny jeans and low waist. Ngayon naman sobrang uso yung mga high-waisted everything. Ayun lang.
Pero may kakilala ako eh.
Oh.
Ano ba tawag doon sa pants ngayon na uso? Yung, hindi man elephant ng 90s eh.
Barrel jeans.
Barrel jeans.
Oo.
May isang kakilala. Sinuot yung barrel jeans, parang skinny yung dating sa kanya.
Grabe.
Bubulong ko mamaya.
Hindi lang siguro sakto sa body type.
Siguro sa...
Kanya-kanya lang. Oo, kanya-kanya
pero,
lang yan.
Eto yung 90s na look actually, yung look nung kanina, no? Yung content creator. Ironically, yung 90s look, a lot of it has been heavily influenced by the 60s aesthetics. Oo, kasi yung ganung look na yung ganung shades, ay yung ganung buhok. Pag i-google mo, Velvet Underground. Okay. Ganun ang pormahan nila, lurid, psychedelic. Hindi psychedelic. 60s, pre-punk, proto-punk. Kasi nung 90s, yun yung mga pinapainggan ng mga bandang sumikat nung 90s. Pero maraming component yung 90s. Pero yung nakikita niyang yung fashion sense kasi, mostly Brit, no? Yung parang ang tawag doon sa mop top yan eh.
Mop top.
Ano yan, early Rolling Stones, Monkees, kita mo?
Ito,
Velvet Underground, mga ganong buhok, ano? Early Pink Floyd. So umiikot-ikot lang talaga.
Oo.
Yung shades niya, Velvet Underground yan, yung ganong klaseng shades, no? So, kaya sinasabi nila, ang pinaka, sabihin natin, organic, no, na aesthetics is the 80s. Kung tutuusin mo dahil halos wala siyang precursors.
So
parang it was the future and the present in a single point. Sorry na lang sa mga shoulder pads, pero baka akala nila it will will help them with gravity.
Bagay naman sa iba yung mga shoulder pads, to be fair. Sana makakita ko ng mga photos mo nung 80s. Next time mag-share ka. Ikaw!
Buti na lang naundoy kami.
Wala nang pwedeng pakita? Hindi na pwedeng i-on the spot?
Wala na akong baby pics. Naundoy.
Talaga? Sayang naman. O sige.
Ganun talaga.
Oo. Pero wag nating sayangin ang oras na to. Pwede tayong bumate sa ating mga viewers. Lahat po ng nanonood na Afternoon Delight via live streaming on Facebook, YouTube, and on TikTok.
Ako batiin ko sa aking YouTube na premium na account.
Sino?
Ang sarap ng chocolate na bigay na Tita Jane at Tito Reden.
Tito Redel, Tita Jane Catapia, hello po.
Salamat po ulit sa tsokolate. Huwag po kayong magsawang mag-abot ng tsokolate. Ako hindi rin magsasawang tumanggap.
Ako na rin.
Pero dapat magpadala tayo sa kanila, nakakahiya.
Oo nga.
Sabihin, inaabuso mo yung kabaitan.
Hoy, bakit ako lang? Mag-abuso ako lang.
Okay.
Teka lang, may ads pa ako. Ikaw muna.
Si Jinx89, cheesecake ho ba yan na walang tetrahydrocannabinol? Sa kasamang palad, Jinx, wala. Joan Valoroso, tandaan nyo yan, nakapattern ang sin.
Ha?
Okay. Ganito lamang ang tinig. Magkahiwalay means, magkahiwalay ang bansa. Yan ang katotohanan dito. Joan Valorosa, nagkamali ka yata ng kinokomentan, pero salamat. Isa sa bawat isa yan din ang sign sa Food Court Avenue.
Ano daw?
Akala ko religious siya. Okay, si Varm Pilipinas, mukhang karakter sa The Simpsons, si Attorney Michael Poe. Alam ko yung sinasabi mo. Hindi yun, observation lang yun. Pero, sino?
Ha?
Hindi, sa Simpsons.
ibang cartoons yung sinasabi
The
ko.
Simpsons. Oo nga, no? Pero hindi yun insulto, Ano yun? Actually, interesting observation.
Observation lang, oo.
Sabi naman ni Emil Frank Kainhog, realidad but fake, nasa bidding at kontrata. Sabi naman ni, sino ba to? Paolo LLP, sana hindi lang para sa foreign delegates ang VIP treatment, sana para sa lahat rin, may foreigners man o wala. Total, lahat naman tayo gumastos siya sa beautification ng lugar. Sa kasamang palad, Paolo, tayo rin kasi yung nag-unbeautify sa lugar. Sino pa?
Diba? Okay, Nico Cabales, binabati lang tayo ng magandang hapon from Cebu City. Watching us also is si Jessie C, as well as Renz Patrick Matienzo.
Digital One Pump, Jomar Canlas, good afternoon. At si M. Ladja, isang maalab na pagbati galing sa California Republic. Sino governor ninyo pala, no? Okay, bawal, hindi na pati si Gavin Newsom, hindi na pwede tumakbo. All right, and that'll do it for us this week. Thank you for watching Afternoon Delight. Have a great weekend, everyone. Ako po si Lourdes de Vera.
Sa Lunes ulit, 12:00 punto. Ako naman po si Denise Tan. Kapatid, we're One News all sides, all the time. Have a delightful afternoon. Happy weekend.
Unity.